He's ultra, he's American, very American, and he plays tabletop role-playing games. TTRPG. He's the ultra American TTRPG. Yeah, so fucking ultra American. Yeah, he's American. Yeah, he's American. It's solo time. Drop the dime. So come on in. Let the show begin. We've got you covered. It's game day, brother. And sisters too. Have we got an ultra show for you? He's ultra, so ultra. He's American, very American, and he plays tabletop role-playing games. TTRPG. He's the ultra American TTRPG. Yeah, so fucking ultra American. Yeah, he's American. Let's solo because YOLO, and you don't wanna be some bro ho, you know. Yeah, you fucking know. So let's go. On with the show. He's ultra, so ultra. He's American, very American, and he plays tabletop role-playing games. TTRPG. He's the ultra American TTRPG. Yeah, so fucking ultra American. Yeah, he's American.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope you all had a good week. Hope you all stayed safe and stayed hydrated. The heat's been kicking up where I've been living, and I'm really feeling it. Um, I don't have my camera on this time because I'm currently not in my RV down by the river. Had some AC issues that decided to happen, and we got a fuse that keeps shorting out. Still trying to figure that part out. But my dad, who usually likes to help me out with that sort of stuff, he is currently out of town for a while, so I'm holding down my folks' fort while I'm gone. So I'm sitting in the kitchen in my parents' home doing this. So that's why no camera. Don't get to see my pretty face. I kid, of course. But yeah, if I still wanted to do something since I ended up not having to do anything last week because of everything going on. But so what we are going to be doing today, or tonight, I should say, in this case, I would like to discuss a little more in depth about a little experiment that I did with Google Gemini. I inserted the Loner RPG PDF rules into the notebook, and I shared that with Gemini. And using that, I was able to have Gemini run about I think it was like a 5 or 6 sessions of that game set in the Fallout Dust setting. So, yeah, something that was definitely interesting to get to work with the experiment. And actually, in that regard, it worked actually a lot better than I thought it did, especially since I was testing I bought the AI Plus monthly package when I was doing that. And so I was testing more of the pro sides of using Gemini. So let me go ahead and I will share my screen with you all now. All right, so just make sure that everything's popping up correctly. Okay, why is it not? I told it to share. Why is it not sharing? There it goes. Okay, wanted to take its sweet time as always. Yeah, Cyrus. If you have been following my Substack, I had it generate after action reports, and I posted those onto my Substack page, which you can just find under my usual at Ultra TTRPGER username, because I try to use that for everything whenever I can. So let me reconfigure some of this here a second. I don't like how some of this looks. Can I not change? No, that's not what I want. That's not what I want either. Of course, it won't let me do what I want with it, to where I want the one where I can just put me down in the corner. I don't get why it's not letting me. There we go. Here we go. Picture in picture. That's what I want. Don't. It's like, yeah. Was that really that hard? Freaking restream. I know you could do better. All right. So as you all can see, like I said, I put the loner core rules into LM. It's a LM notebook, so that way it can generate and read that. And I just asked it to do a help me create a. Well, first off, I needed to create a character. Now, this was a setting, a campaign. This was a game I did that I've had that I wanted to do a solo thing on for a while. Ever since I figured I've heard about the Fallout Dust mod for New Vegas. For those who aren't aware, so everyone's pretty much familiar with Fallout New Vegas. They only have a TV show about it going on right now. But Fallout New Vegas is heralded as the most popular Fallout game in the franchise. And the Fallout Dust mod, the person who made it, so the Dust mod takes place 20 years after the main events of New Vegas, in which you play as a just a survivor with the single goal of escaping the Mojave Desert. A lot of the NPCs that you would meet in the New Vegas game are either gone or they've been brutally twisted, because there's this radiating cloud that, thanks to the New California Republic, as always, they created this radiating cloud that spread all over the Mojave and just destroyed everything. And it's actually a very hard game, because it forces you to play on the survival difficulty. So you have to keep track of your food, your water, all that. So I've always had this idea that I wanted to play in the Fallout Dust setting, but I wanted to play as a NCR soldier that was just left there, and he was left there, expected backup to arrive at some point, and that backup just never came. So, sorry, I was reading something really quick. So I had to create a character, and so, like I said, I had typed out I have the idea of an NCR soldier that was left at an NCR outpost and now has escaped Mojave, and it went over. So how character creation works in the Loner RPG is you're creating very much a character sheet, but you don't really have numbers. You have basically like these traits and these tags and whatever not. So like you have the name, you have a concept, which is kind of like what your character kind of basically is. Like you're Jerry, the headstrong mechanic, or something like that. Which this case, he was the stranded NCR soldier. Then the next thing you do is you select two skills that you have. And so it requested, the first one was standard issue firearm training, which of course he's a soldier. That was a given. And then it allowed me to choose between wasteland scavenger or tactical evasion. Well, because the idea was I am trying to get out of the Mojave, but I'm probably going to still have to try to survive that encounter, I chose wasteland scavenger. Excuse me. So, and then you have then you choose a weakness for your character. And this is something that basically, if your frailty comes into play, it gives you disadvantage on a roll, because how Lone RPG also works, it's an Oracle based dice system. You have 4d6s, and it's two of and they're in the and sorry, 4d6s, and they're each two different colors. So for me, I have two red d6s and two black d6s. The reds are my chance dice, and the black are my risk dice. And depending on which one comes out higher, depends on the outcome of the oracle, because it's a yes and no and yes but no but oracle system. So you always constantly are rolling to see what kind of happens next. It is a more narrative focused game, but the dice rolls do play a part in it a lot. So for this one, it gave me for frailty, going back to frailty, it gave me two choices. Either I could be targeted by Mojave survivors, which everyone hates the NCR at this point in the Fallout Dust setting, or I'm haunted by the abandoned post. And I chose targeted by Mojave survivors. Next, you start with two pieces of gear for your character, and it gave me a service rifle, and I think I chose I can't remember, did I choose canteen or the frayed armor? I don't remember, so I will look at that here in a second. Then you have a goal and a motive that you have for your character. So the goal was escape the Mojave wasteland, and I believe I actually changed the motive because the idea was this is a NCR soldier at the Mojave outpost. He got stranded, yet he heard of this he heard of this amazing place called Zion Canyon, and apparently in Zion Canyon everything is fine, and the radiating cloud hasn't touched anywhere, and so this is what he's trying to go to. And then for your nemesis, you have like one nemesis that your console you could be fighting against at any point. And my name one, it's either a pack of stocky tunnelers or the cloud. And of course, I chose the cloud. Then you have a set amount of luck. And the luck in Loner RPG works is almost kind of like your HP in a sense, and it's not at the same time. Basically, when there's a conflict, and a conflict isn't just combat, it could be like a debate kind of thing. Anything that could be defined as a conflict in this game, you have this luck system that takes in place to where depending on the dice roll, you either lose luck or regain that luck. So as long as you don't lose all your luck, because when you lose all your luck is when the conflict ends. And sometimes that's not always a good thing. All right, so let me see here. Yep, I just want to be so I didn't at first I want to be very I didn't want him to have a name because in Fallout New Vegas you just have the courier. Well, in this game my character was just called the soldier because that's all he is. Don't spoil it now too far, Shrapnel. And so this is what the character sheet looks like. Oh yeah, let me expand it because I forget these like to shorten it. Yep, I did change the motive to be to survive and make it to Zion Canyon. And so this is what the character sheet basically looks like, or the character would look like. So you have all this, and then we get into the first session where I'm not going to read everything out. There's going to be a few key moments I will stop to read over because there were some really good moments I enjoyed just playing this game through solo with Gemini. And so we will see how this you will get to like basically listen through me how this all came out because all I shared on my Substack was the after action reports. So this is just going to be me going more in detail. So we start at the Mojave outpost. He has been there. The soldier has been there for the past decade now. He was left there with the promise that he is to hold his ground here until reinforcements arrived. A decade goes by, and those reinforcements never came. So at this point, he's does it do any graphics? Um, I did not do it does not do graphics to go it does not make graphics while it's doing all this unless you specifically ask it to. And I wasn't really focused on graphics because again, I'm always more of a theater of the mind guy. So I like playing these out in my head and seeing where my imagination takes this more than having it give me graphics. So again, so in this case, he begins to start preparing. So this is an example of how the Oracle will work. So you would ask it a question. So like this first question is, do we have the supplies to make the trip from the Mojave outpost all the way to the other side to Zion Canyon? And basically, you roll. You would take one if you unless you had advantage or disadvantage, you would take one risk die and one chance die, and you roll them both. So in this case, my chance die was a 3, and the risk die was a 1. And what I also really loved about this is as you see here, and you also will see as it goes on, it constantly will go over the steps of the rules for how the dice works. That's why I really liked the pro version of Gemini doing this, because you actually see it thinking as it's working sometimes. So when your chance die is higher than your risk die, this means the base answer is yes. So if it was the reverse to where my risk die was higher than my chance die, the answer would have been no for the base. However, since both dice are 3 or lower, there's a but to the result. If both dice are if one of them if only one of them was lower than 3, but the other wasn't, it would just be a flat line yes. But if they were both 4 or higher, then the answer becomes an and. So it would be yes and if that's the case. Just more understanding of how loner RPG system works. So in this case, it gave me a couple complications I could pick through, and I picked tainted goods. So I had food, but it was kind of irradiated. So there was a chance that I could get like sick from eating this irradiated food. And then I was just wondering if we had a car. Of course we didn't, because of course it's the apocalypse. There weren't going to be any cars here, of course. And so we start to go from the Mojave outpost. We leave there. We start going down I-15. And then eventually I asked if we had an encounter. And of course, I got a 6 on the chance and 1 on the risk, which means just yes, we get an encounter. So this was the first. Hold on a second. Sorry, I was looking through here again. Something. So this was the first kind of encounter I got, in which I got to learn and kind of experience, get a little more feel for the mechanics. So of course, because I have the frailty of targeted by Mojave survivors, I came across these 3 desperate people out in the Mojave, and immediately, because I was wearing this NCR armor, I got attacked. So because now, one thing that I don't type out in here, but one thing that it does rule, since whenever you use a skill or a equipment item, you're getting advantage on your dice. So every time I use anytime I use my rifle, I basically rolled 2 chance dice and 1 risk dice. There's Surprisingly, I don't know if it was just because Gemini after a while just kind of wasn't keeping track. I didn't roll disadvantage too much, surprisingly. But I also got very good at like phrasing my I also learned like when as the more I played Loner, I learned a lot more like how to phrase my questions and like what I needed to do to make sure that I always had the best advantage in this game. So this game really does make you think, like, if you want the story to go a certain way, then what choices are you going to make sure that's the case? And because even if the dice work against you, you at least have some backup plan. So it just goes through the thing. I think I got hit like once or twice. And okay, here we go. During this battle, I rolled 5s on both on this during one time during this battle. I rolled the same number on both the chance and the risk dice. Now, if you roll a double number, it is a twist, or it adds to your twist counter. So it is a yes. So a double on your thing, regardless of the number, it's a yes, but. And I don't know if it's supposed to do this, but if your dice was lower or higher, it included the and but as well on top of that for some reason. So I don't know if it meant to do that or not, but it did. And sometimes, and it actually was not bad. And then the twist counter, once you get up to 3 twists on your twist counter in the Lone RPG, there's a major plot twist that will happen in the game. So this was number 1. So this was just the fight happening. I got injured a couple times. I think I got injured once or twice. I ended up taking out all 3 figures as they attacked me. Hold on, I have to drink from my giant water jug right now because I knew I was going to be talking for a long time. Oh, excuse me, needed that. All right. Yep, taking out kind of the last ember there. There's not really any damage. There's not really any HP on the things. If you're able to get them, you basically will get them. Afterwards, scavenge the bodies, but during the time I scavenged the bodies, the cloud appeared, so I was able to find a gas station to rush into. The what did I say? What did it say it took me to? Oh, the Nipton Road rest stop. That is where it took me to. So I get in there and I close the doors to try to keep away from the cloud. But unfortunately, there was a break in the window, and I was trying to find like a mask or something to like uh, not inhale the smoke, but I wasn't finding anything. And eventually, I end up shooting the a lock on off of a freezer door, and I barricade myself inside a freezer with the door with the heavy metal door, like sealing completely shut from the cold from the cloud outside. So hold on, let me get there really quick. Uh, I looked through the freezer and I found a hidden supply of stuff that was hidden in here, which was nice. And I basically took some time to just rest in here. And every time you rest, if you have exactly shrapnel, you take a sip from your trusty Vault 13 canteen. Basically, anytime you take a rest and you have like health lost, wait, not health lost, yeah, luck lost, you regain that. Oh, and at some point I forgot. I guess I got another counter, another counter to my twist counter on here. So I was at 2 or 3 by this point. Eventually, I wake up after taking a rest in the freezer. I basically there's some things where it's like, yes, you have a bag, but there's like you don't have to list out every single item that your character is carrying on them. Like this is a soldier, he has a pack. It would make sense that he has a sleeping bag on that in that bag, or any kind of other necessary like supplies. Like I'm not gonna try to have him find every single thing. There's just some things where you're just like, yeah, he would have like utensils, he would have a sleeping bag. And let me see here. Yeah, I when I wake up again, I try to see if the cloud is still out there. I open the freezer door, cloud is still filling the space, but I was able to climb through the air duct that in this freezer to get up to the rooftop. And this was where I rolled double twos for the major twist, because that was the final third twist and counter that it needed to do. So I got out above I got onto the roof of this rest stop, but not the which was above the cloud, thankfully, so I couldn't get affected by it. I saw there was a path that I could take to try to get to where I needed to go. But at this point, the twist was, oh, and usually there's like something that you can roll up, and it had me do it for a while, but eventually at some point it just randomly started doing major twists for me, which not that big a deal to me. I just thought it was weird that it changed like that after a while. So, so on this one, I rolled encounter and hinders a hero. So some cloud victims, as I'm looking out over the horizon from the roof of this rest stop, climbed up. These 3 cloud victims. And what these cloud victims are in Fallout Dust is they are people that were when they were former NCR like affiliates, that they wore like these hazmat suits with these masks to try to walk through the cloud. But after being in the cloud so long, the irradiation from it made it to where they could not take off these outfits. Like it was they the mask and the unit and the hazmat suits got stuck to their bodies. So these guys so this was the first. Then that was where I stopped the end of that first session, was right when these guys climbed up. Oh, excuse me. And again, this is the after action report editor for me. If you want to read it, I've got them all listed on my Substack. When we come back, we just pick up where we left off. What I did was I immediately let me see here. Trying to see if I could try to get them away from me, but they're not. I'm really scared. They're trying to get back up. So instead, I fire at one of them. and I literally just leap off the roof and just take off running. And then let's see here. Da, da, da. Yeah, start going up the jagged. Yeah, basically started going up the path, trying to follow I-15. Then let me see here. I come across this old campsite at some point, trying to see if there's anything here, and there wasn't. And then it was during this time that, even though that someone may come back, I decided to take a rest here. And of course, as I was resting, let me see here. Yeah, I did roll up that basically another waste a scavenger came across me, and I tried to talk him down right here, but unfortunately, of course, didn't work, and the guy started attacking me, and eventually, I just ended up just taking him out after he tried to basically put an axe in. He tried to put an axe in my crotch, basically. And then that was a restart of the twist counter because after I took him out. So I get the guy off me because he fell on top of me after I shot him point blank, which kind of messes up my gun. So I take his fire axe as a backup, and let me see here. Yep, I added that to the inventory of my items that I have. Trying to man it. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while now. I'm trying to remember every single thing. This is trying to find. Oh, trying to climb. I think up a cliffside. Still trying to follow the path. Then I find a maintenance bunker in the cliff face as I was making my way around, which actually did a lot good for me. There was nothing else in here. I actually find I actually do end up finding more supplies in here and finding more time to clean my gun as well in the process. Let me see. I know there were items in here. Yep, here it is. Yep, I found more ammo inside this thing. And I actually find I actually do come across good luck, and I find a hazmat suit and a gas mask with some charcoal filters, which is really helpful when you're trying to get through the cloud. Excuse me. Then I think I rested here again, and of course I had another. I added another to the twist counter. Oh yeah, because I ended up finding a map, and I find that there is a underground passage, like maintenance passage, that I could take underneath the Prim bypass that I could take to get basically almost all the way to New Vegas in this. But the thing was, I actually had to go back down the cliffside, actually into the cloud to get to it. And we decided to risk it because he was so his mind this soldier's mind is dead set on escaping the Mojave. So after getting all my stuff together and fixing my gun, put on the hazmat suit, put on the gas mask. Excuse me. And he begins to descend. We find the door was locked, but I was able to break it open. And but most of this is just kind of just going through the tunnels, and for some crazy reason, going through these tunnels on the I believe there was a maintenance cart on this, if I recall correctly. Let me see, where was it? Yep, there was a flatbed maintenance trim on here, which we were able to get back up and running to take along instead of having to walk the entire way. We find a military locker that was down here as well, and we end up getting a 9 millimeter pistol, some MREs, and some grenades of all things. So those grenades will come in handy here shortly. So we continue on, and actually, it doesn't take me all the way to Vegas, but it does take me to a substation that's located near Good Springs. Let me take another drink of water here. And so after doing that, we get up and out in the Good Springs, and at this point in the Fallout New Dust timeline, New Good Springs is just a ruined ghost town. No one is here. Nothing is left. And of course, I got double fours. So a major twist occurs. And we see that we were about to walk into the saloon that was there, the Prospector Saloon, but we almost trip off a trap here, a wired explosive. And the twist that we ended up rolling for this one at the time was an emotional event hinders the hero, which ended up just being him having a just a basically going through a sudden crash of survivor's guilt for being basically one of the only few soldiers left alive in this wasteland. Uh, Try to settle himself and double ones, of course. I tried to fall backwards, and of course, it didn't do much. Got another tie on top of that. Now, at this point, this was like it didn't do the ties properly at one point, so I had to refix it again. So let's see here. This was, oh yeah, I was able to recollect myself. Okay, so in this version, for the first couple times this happened, I rolled for the twist because once you hit the three twist counters, there is a table you roll on for like what the type of encounter is. But eventually, later on, farther when the more I played it, Gemini just ended up taking over and generating those major twists at some point. So I was able to disarm the trap and actually collect the rig dynamite. Unfortunately, though, I apparently caused a lot of commotion that a group of ne'er do wells decided to come across me. And I tried to use one of my grenades at them, but as soon as I stick my head out, I got shot. And the grenade goes flying over. And they just start firing away. And then as I'm doing this, I am about to set off the dynamite because I'm like, I have this dynamite. Let's put to use. So I was going to light it and chuck it out. However, oh, I actually did end up meeting the final major twist in this one. Here is when it started doing the yeah, because it generated the 2d6 twist roll this time. This is when it started doing it. A third party appears, and that third party, let me see here. Yeah, the gunfire stops abruptly, and we start to hear all this the sound of bodies being torn as unaware to the character, but known to me, a Deathclaw heard the commotion going on and heard lunch. So Deathclaw is putting an end to these Wastelanders, and I tried to throw out the dynamite out of the saloon and run away. Unfortunately, not getting very far by the way these dice rolls came out. So I get hurled out, and I'm hit for a moment. Yeah, because at this point my luck dropped down to 4. However, everything still kind of worked out because yeah, as I go back over there, there's a very heavily mangled Deathclaw got got blasted. And for good measure, I put a couple. Well, not yet. Well, first there's a safe that I ended up finding more stuff in, and then I put a couple bullets into the Deathclaw for good measure, and then continued on out of Goodsprings. And for some reason, it is after this Goodsprings arc in the soldier story that things really kind of took a weird narrative shift to where it was like, because at this point it was just all about survival, all about just trying to get to the next stop. And at this point it was just like gung ho. It's like, it doesn't matter if I die or not, I'm going to keep on walking, basically. Was the kind of the attitude that happened going forward for the soldier, my character. After action report number 2. Oh yeah, because I had to do a couple different layouts before I settled on one. All right, hold on, I need to get another drink. Man, I'm talking a lot tonight. I don't think I've ever talked this much. Right now, we get on to session 3 here, where we leave the town of Goodsprings and we're just going through the Mojave Desert. And we had 2 choices at this point. It was either walk along this highway, but the highway was completely blocked by a chaotic pileup of rusted cars and trucks, which means it could have been more dangerous and something could be behind those vehicles. However, the other option we had was an open desert, which, yes, there's no cover out there, but I made the rational decision of, after he quickly bandaged himself up, we will go through the open desert. But because even though if I had no cover, I would also, anyone out there would also have no cover either. So we're starting to walk through the desert area, and we actually roll double twos because the C is do we come across anyone or anything. And as we are sitting here, we actually do come across the NCR veteran ranger, and this becomes a very what's what I'm looking for. A prop this the NCR veteran ranger becomes a prominent figure in this game story because at first he sees me and I see him, but he doesn't know if I'm a friend or not. So his idea is to take aim and prepare to fire immediately, hoping that I can get him on my side. I'm just like, because it says we can see the NCR tire through the windy dust. I call out to me like, friendly, friendly, don't shoot. And that, fortunately enough, does the trick. Of course, I rolled a double. Oh no, wait. That's just saying the twisted counter was remaining at. Never mind. And of course, we make our way to each other. We talk for a moment. I tell him what I'm doing, and that's where the NCR Ranger, like right here, it says, "Kid, there is no relief. NCR commanded the Mojave collapsed months ago. Long 15 is a graveyard. Camp McCarran is a slaughterhouse. You're looking at the only relief left this side of the dam. Basically, the NCR Ranger and the Soldier are the only two NCR members that are probably left here in the Mojave. And at one point, I think, let me see here. Yeah. The soldiers insisting on trying to reach Zion Canyon. The Ranger is prepared to just go on out and leave. And of course, like the NCR gives us a lot of good advice. The Ranger gives us a lot of good advice of us, but I actually end up convincing him to stick with me instead. And there's a saying that I said in here that ends up becoming kind of almost a what's the word I'm looking for here again? A second. Uh-oh. Oh, I thought I lost myself for a second. It says, "As long as we breathe, the NCR lives on." Becomes a prominent slogan kind of in this game. So keep that in mind. You'll be seeing that more than once. And so the soldier's like, "Come join me." And the Ranger's like, "All right." But at this point, because of, let me see. Yeah, because, oh, yep, I activated the, because the quiz counter did yes, but and while we were waiting out here, and while we were talking out here, we got attacked by a group of tunnelers. The tunnelers came out, and we almost thought they almost had me at first, but we were able to make quick work of them. We got ourselves out of there, and we continued to make our way on to get to New Vegas. Let me see here. Yeah, it's just going. This is just all going over the battle with the tunnelers with me and the Ranger. This is asking if there's anything left in New Vegas. Basically, nothing good is what the Ranger says. We get it. We eventually reach New Vegas, and we get into the free side, which is kind of on the outskirts of it. But unfortunately, we're not able to pass through it peacefully. Uh, our arrival is met by fiends, which we are, instead of fighting it, we try to run off. And but unfortunately, we get close enough to where when you get towards the New Vegas walls, there are now turrets. They're like heat seekers, and they try to start firing us as we get closer to them. And we're kind of able to dodge, and we find a. Let me see here. I'm trying to remember how this played out. I think we find a great, like a little grate that we're able to cut open somehow, and we're able to get in there just before. Oh, well, first of all, right after, because there were a bunch of fiends inside the Silver Rush lobby, and I threw a grenade in there to try to keep up a distraction. That was the final grenade. Uh, yep, we try to get into the strip. Let me see. Yeah, we were able to kind of move the doors just wide enough for us to get through, but there was a packed Brahmin the Ranger had that we had to leave behind. And then let's see here. Uh, yep, basically saying there's nothing happening. And then as we came out from the other side, we are met by a heavily armed Securitron, basically. And this was kind of a cool scene to happen because, yeah, it's basically the Securitrons are basically on auto kill basically. So At first, I emptied the full clip in the robot to see if I can like damage it, and even though I do hit it, it does no damage. I quickly, I tell the soldier tells the ranger to get out of there, and he starts running forward after he reloads. And I decided this time to aim at the barrel of the bot's gun instead of, or at least aiming at the machine gun that the bot had instead of just hitting it, which turns out successful. And I also barrel into it to knock it over as well at the same time. Now, here is where another major twist we have occurs. And this was what really got the story going. Because we're trying to get it, I knock over the Securitron, the soldier knocks over the Securitron box, me and so the soldier and the ranger start to run off. But however, we just run right into more trouble as we get surrounded by more Securitrons. And right as we're about to basically meet our maker, they just kind of shut off. And from the voices of the Securitrons is the voice of Mr. House himself. He is somehow alive in all this, and that is going to be explained further along in this game. Because I went with the idea for this one that because in Fallout Dust, Mr. House isn't really mentioned, so I assume that Fallout Dust goes with the choice that the courier killed House. Because in Fallout Dust, the canonical storyline in that is that uh, the courier basically took control of Securitrons in Vegas, helped the NCR defeat the Legion, and then told the NCR basically get the fuck out. And then the NCR came back after a while to kind of get their revenge. But the idea was the courier basically liberated New Vegas. Is kind of the canonical setting, the canonical storyline for Fallout Dust. So we're invited to the Lucky 38s. Well, we talk about Mr. House. And basically what he does is he knows that we're trying to get the Zion Canyon, and he offers us a way that he offers to help us get there in exchange for doing some work for him, which involves us getting some data from what was it? Yeah, from a airport base that's controlled over the Boomer faction in New Vegas. And basically, the Boomers are just all about high explosives. And I cannot. For some reason, this session I couldn't stop rolling ties. For some reason, these ties constantly happen during this session. Excuse me. Yeah. So basically, Mr. House stocks us all up with all the gear we need. More ammunition, some med kits, a couple C4 blocks, and the data pad to get the data on. And we go ahead and we head out from there to go take care of the job, and we ended that session was ended there. The other after action report for this session. Excuse me. I'm gonna take another drink of water before we get started on the next session. Hold on a second. I need to blow my nose really quick. I will be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let me double check everything else here really quick first. Make sure that I'm all still good. One on YouTube, one on Rumble. Okay. All right. Now continuing on with the next session. So the soldier and the ranger end up leaving Lucky 38, taking this underground train passage that secondly cult was considered off the grid. Let me see. We actually come across a train that would get powered up and running, which activates a bunch of, I think they were ghouls that were located in this tunnel, and we just used a train. Basically, we pulled a reverse invincible. Instead of the people going through the train destroying it, we used a train to destroy the people. So we pulled the reverse invincible using a train that just because we couldn't control it, it went at high speed through all these ghouls, blood and guts going everywhere. So that was interesting to happen. Was that situation instead of having to fight off the ghouls, we just went through them. So we get out from the ground, make our way to the Air Force Base, which we find the Air Force Base is not superhuman guarded. It's more machine guarded by all their automatic weaponry. So if we tried to just do like a frontal assault, we would just get blasted away by rockets. So we find a trench to try to sneak in through. However, my dice on this session, my dice did not like me too much. The first thing we have is yes, we get into the trench and immediately step into basically a minefield, a mini minefield. Hold on, let me double check here. No, this was just talking about distraction. Yeah, here we go. Make it through the trench and sneak inside without getting spotted. So yes, but yep, all the pressure plates and the mines of stuff. And then yeah, of course there is a Grenadier that's also patrolling as well. Now, of course, still couldn't avoid anything. And of course, the Grenadier eventually sees us and shoots a grenade in our direction. Which I, on the fly, thought grab the rifle, reverse it, and use it like a baseball bat to hit the grenade back to him, which somehow succeeds. Which not only got rid of the problem, but also set off every freaking explosive that was in this trench at the same time, so we didn't have to go through it. Yeah, instead of landing at your feet, the grenade bounces hard against the steep wall of the wash and skips violently back down the trench toward the boomer guard. The guard, who was already lowering his weapon, freezes. His eyes go wide behind his visor as his own high explosive ordnance rolls right back to his boots. And just sets off a chain reaction of explosions, basically. Which, of course, unfortunately, lets everyone know, hey, we're here. The Gemini's not letting me in when the dice are letting me win. It is feeding me is providing the information based on the dice rolls. Because like as you saw, like hey, earlier, like let me see, where was it? Yeah, 5 for chance, 6 for risk. So yeah, I was able to get into that trench, but unfortunately, there's a bunch of mines in that trench. So no, Gemini is not letting me win at all in this case. Is because like as you can see, I am giving it the dice rolls. So by what I have given it, it has to adhere to the rules of the game. So it wouldn't make any sense for me to have a high risk and low chance, and then somehow say I can win some of that. That's not how the game works. So we're using the chaos of that what just happened. Let me see. No, we were not able to sneak inside at the moment. Bunch of stuff goes off. Sirens are going off. Let me see here what happened. Uh, yeah, this one was a freaking like again, just the amount of stuff I thought of on the fly, like what the soldier's doing. Yeah, this one because again, this is all most of these are all left to it's on a 2D on a D6 versus D6 roll. So these situations could have gone so many different ways. Like this, I literally say is there's a barrage that's directing at him, and the plan is to wait until they fire on again on them with the hope that the soldier can move quickly out of the way and have the barrage blast open the door for them. And I rolled 6 for chance, 5 for risk, which means yes, I do this. And there was also an and because they were both a 4 or higher. Yep. So I'm able to it fires, I dodge, and boom, the shell opens the door for us, basically. And I like how he had the soldier say, "Holy shit, I didn't think that would work." If it's stupid and it works, soldier, it ain't stupid. The ranger rasps. And so we're able to sneak inside, and we open up like this little sewer grate that's above on that leads onto the tarmac. Except everything is in a roar. Everyone's all over the place because everything's been alarmed. But of course, the objective is across the way, but we'd have to go through a crowd of people that would immediately start firing on us if we were exposed. So the idea was, do we cause a diversion? And I rolled double fours. So yes, but and another major twist happened. So right as I was about to start the distraction on this, which I was going to basically blow up a tanker truck, um, the game dictated that because of all the explosions that went off, some of the tunnelers to this base. So on top of the boomer faction gang that we have to try to get around do this, we now summon the tunnelers on us, and now it's a three-way war kind of going on at this moment. And at this point, I just say, "Let's go," and we just start running forwards, which of course doesn't work out too well for us. We get stuck on the other side of a fire, of a large tanker fire, I believe it is. Yeah, a rocket misses the swarm and hits the pressurized tanker dead center. So a wall of so the rocket hits this tanker and creates a wall of fire that blocks our way to this tower that we're trying to get to that's on this base. But it cuts us off from the boomers, but puts us right in front of a group of tunnelers. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh crap, my character's done for. So what I had to do was I had basically do like you know how they say like when you're facing with a lion, make yourself look bigger to scare it off. That's basically the equivalent of what the soldier tried to do. He grabbed one of the blocks of C4 and in one hand, the detonator in the other, and is basically trying to get these guys to come at him because he was ready to basically blow himself up to get rid of these tunnelers. And of course, that ran off that by some again by whatever dice god that lives in the sky above, it works because I got a 5 for chance and a 1 for risk. So even though the tellers don't understand what's going on, they somehow do at the same time because they're about to leap forward to attack, but they stop. As like something about this soldier going being all crazy in this moment makes them second guess, and then they run off. And then at this point, the soldiers basically just had enough. He kind of snapped a little bit in this scene, just trying to deal with all this with so much happening. So he jumps through the wall of fire, which again I rolled and I fucking succeeded. Again, the dice gods decided to be on my side and not on my side at the same time. It was nuts this session. So we leap through the fire, get on the other side, and then we head into the tower. The ranger goes up to the top of the tower to plug into the data pad to get the information to get the information, while the soldier stays down the lower level and sets up the C4 to basically detonate this tower once they're done. And so sets the C4. A couple boomers try to come in to escape the swarm that was going on outside, came across me, and I immediately dispatched to them. So, and of course, I because when I ran through the fire, it messed up the detonator, so I had to set a manual timer on the C4. So as you see, it starts counting down from a minute. Yep, here it is. Immediately empty my rifle clip into two boomers that got in here. All right, we run out there. We don't really get out of the range of the C4 going off, so we got hurt by that. Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, because if you actually if I was man, I should probably put a document together just with all this stuff, and so that way everyone could just read it all by themselves. Maybe if I have the time to put it all together like this. So yeah, we try to get out of there. Still so much happening that we just duck right down right where we are, and the tower just somehow misses us. It falls around us, but not on top of us. And then just skipping through all this extra stuff, we eventually arrive back at Lucky 38. There's a scene in here where there's some Night Stalker creatures in the tunnel that we have to avoid, which Night Stalkers are basically are like, man, I almost want to call Night Stalkers like the Blink Dogs of Fallout because it's kind of what they are. Oh, shrapnel. I'm guessing. Yeah, yes, please do. Is that for the document just showing everything in this? I may have. It's like maybe at once I'll have to find time to get around to that because there's just so much that happened in this. Yep, there's the Night Stalker scene. Da, da, da. Yep, here we go. Back getting up to the penthouse. We give him the data pad. We give him the data pad, and then it's like at this point, it's like, hey, I don't want to talk about this now. I want a room and I want to clean up. And Dr. House lets us have a suite for us to have a night's rest and food and to clean up because we are nasty. And I just had a short scene where it's like it's a drink between the soldier and the ranger just kind of talking for a moment. Nothing too crazy, just a conversation between men. And then that was where that session ended. All right, let me take another drink of water here. All right. Now I think this is either 4 or 5. I don't remember now. I think this was session 4. I think there was only 5 or 6. That's kind of the thing is like some of these, like some of them were definitely how much I was able to do with them. It really just depended on like because even on AI Plus, there's only a certain amount of stuff you can do with Pro on it because after a while it'll just say, "Hey, you're basically reached your limit for the day," and it won't be up again until like this time on the next day or later on, something like that. Cyrus, I don't know what if you're supposed to mean anything by the emojis. Did something happen? All right. Can everyone still hear me? Okay. All's well. Okay. That's good to know. Hold on a second here. Oh, no. Not what I wanted. I tried to do something and all right. Hold on, I was trying to do something. It wasn't what I wanted it to do. There we go. Sorry about that. Oh, can I maximize this? No, I can't. It's the same size regardless if I do it or not. Okay, continuing back. Okay, so we wake up the next day, Lucky 38. We get ready. I fix up my rifle a little bit because I battered the butt of it hitting that grenade. And we start talking to Mr. House. And let me see here. Let me find. Yeah, Mr. House basically gives us basically there is a sewer system underneath New Vegas that he promises will take us basically all the way out towards where we need to go to get to Zion Canyon. But of course, I'm like, of course, my thought was this can't be too that easy. So I had my soldier ask him, what is it that Mr. House wasn't telling us? And of course, I rolled a double. I get so our twist counter at this point got to 2 of 3. And this is where we learned something interesting. Da, da, da. Where yeah, it's like we have these drainage networks that could take you there. However, there's an intersects part of it where it's not only being controlled, but there's also an automated security checkpoint that he couldn't access. So the turrets and all Soltrons on in that area are hardwired and will just attack on sight. But he does give us a black key card and an EMP grenade to help us try to avoid all this. And of course, like I was still curious because again, the idea was like it was a rumor. We kind of established that Courier possibly killed Mr. House. So how was he still here? And of course, I rolled another doubles. And like again, I am not this. I literally did roll these. If I had a camera to it's like because again, this was just something I was doing off screen, but I hope you all believe me when I do say I was rolling every single thing I asked. Fudged no dice. I did not cheat the rules. I rolled honestly, and I I did what the dice laid. So yes, there was also we asked you about like what happened between Mr. House and the courier, and we learned that actually, yeah, the physical body of Mr. House was killed. And the house that we see on this computer screen in the Lucky 38 was basically just kind of like the yeah, he's the localized cognitive engram of his system. So this computer has like it has Mr. House's mannerisms, his memories, but it's just all code. There's no physical body to Mr. House anymore. And one thing that happened to the courier is he basically, because of everything that happened, the NCR in Fallout Dust, after a while, they came back and they actually got the courier evicted from New Vegas after they took it over again. And the courier went mad basically. And in this version of the story, made his home also down in the sub level where all the uh, hostile robots and the fiends are. So he is also down in this area as well. So we not only have to deal with those, we have to deal with possibly the most ruthless foe in all of Fallout history. And as so this so we have this conversation. We leave Lucky 38. There's a conversation between the ranger and the soldier about the courier, about kind of like who he is. Excuse me again. Mm. All right. And then, yep. So eventually, after a while, we get down to the sub level that we need to get to. So let me see here. And of course, as always, nothing goes off like it should. We throw off the EMP grenade, which shuts down all the hostile robotics, which that works. And we get to the door, use the key card, but unfortunately, the EMP also kind of messed up the door, and the hydraulics are so old as well that the door does not open all the way like it's supposed to. So the soldier and the ranger just barely get through the door before it shuts closed behind them, and everything reactivates behind them. And basically, what they discover at once they get inside is this is nothing but a trap. And they see in this room where actually earlier Mr. House said, "Oh, this was like a pre-war armory that you might be able to find stuff in." No, this pre-war armory has been emptied. And let me see. Yeah, there's a bunch of traps and tripwires all over this room. And walking this room is not only the courier, which in this case he is the radiation has gotten to him, so he has all these cybernetics attached to his body to help keep him alive. And he walks in with this giant, just this huge on like assaultron, where it's like an amalgamation of a sentry bot and an assaultron, just this giant beast of a machine. Excuse me, getting another drink. Oh. It's so basically, the ranger and the soldier are staring down this courier, and the courier recognizes our NCR armor and immediately does not take much of a liking to us. And of course he orders the giant robot to execute us. But this time, I don't hesitate. I run. I try since I know I'm not gonna be able to shoot the robot. I just try to shoot the gun out of the way, and of course I get doubles. So so it does work, but there's a bunch of buts. So as the soldier and the ranger dodge out of the way, the soldier fires at the arm of this giant assaultron to basically make the gun shoot off and all the way and not hit anything. However, at the process, the laser beam it shoots out hits some thing. What was it? Oh yeah, there's a bunch of micro fusion cells that were kind of ridge like explosives, and the laser hits these, and the room is just blasting up all over the place. And the soldier is blasted over and lands right at the feet of the courier. So the soldier's on the ground looking up, and the courier is standing over him. And the courier also has what's called a ballistic fist, which is basically it's a giant metal fist with pressure plates at the end of them to where if you punch something, you punch someone and it shoots a shotgun shell at that person. So it's basically like an explosive punch that you deal to someone. And the courier is about to bring this down right onto the soldier. Thinking quickly, of course, the soldier quickly grabs his 9mm pistol because his rifle was scattered to the side. And part of the description that it gave in this thing was the courier still wearing its helmet, but one of its eyes is cracked, so you can. But one of the lenses is cracked, so you can see his like milky eye. And right as the soldier is about to bring the ballistic fist down, no, right as the courier is about to bring the ballistic fist down to the soldier grabs his 9mm and basically just shoves it into the broken lens, pointing right into the courier's eye. And of course, as you see on the 4 for chance 2 for risk, it succeeds, basically stopping the courier dead in his path. Because the idea is, if the courier punches a soldier, soldier pulls the trigger. If soldier pulls the trigger, courier punches down, and it's game over for both of them. Mutually assured destruction. And at this point, it is now at a standstill. It's like there's literally nothing else that the soldier or the courier can do. The ranger at one point during this part of this Mexican standoff gets up and points his a sequoia is what the gun is called, which is basically it's a hand cannon. So the ranger points a hand cannon at the courier. At the same time, the Assaultron regains itself and is now it targets onto the ranger as well. And at this point, it starts to become an argument of ideals. At this point, I don't. It's like it was just an idea, like because the idea was, can the soldier reach out to the man that the courier was before, the man that saw the promise of what New Vegas was supposed to be. And this one was kind of one of my favorite scenes too, because you see it's this back and forth first with the Mexican standoff. It's like again, courier, ballistic fist, almost like barely, almost like right in against the soldier's face. A soldier, 9mm in the lens, pointing right into the eye of the courier. The ranger pointing his hand cannon at the courier, and the giant assaultron aimed at the ranger. So it is this giant Mexican standoff, and they are arguing back and forth ideals. And at one point, it's like the courier does kind of drop his ballistic fist, but he wants them to make the choice between who stays behind and who gets to go on. But the soldier and the ranger are like, no, we're not going to play this game. So they do one final thing to appeal to the courier, and it works. And for some reason, this breaks through this final thing that the soldier asked, which he said was, you once had an idea too, or was everything you did for New Vegas all for nothing? And that question alone, I think, breaks the courier's madness for a moment. Because the idea was the soldier believe again, the soldier was telling himself throughout this thing, the NCR lives on. As long as he breathes, the idea of what the NCR stands for will not die. And so the courier lets go, deactivates the giant assaultron, and basically activates the entire drainage network system to open the door. However, this is a double-edged sword, as the courier still kind of goes back to his madness in this moment, and the massive override activates everything. Alarms start going off, doors are opening, and you hear basically everything that is in this in this sub level network is now coming towards them because of all this noise. So the soldier and the ranger just sprint off, trying to get as far into the drainage network as they can. Let me see here. So they keep running, 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 running. And as they're running, though, like they hear everything coming up behind them. And they are just running, running, running. But at some point, because again, everything is so old under here, the grating beneath them gives way and they plummet down into irradiated rapids in this water. And they are basically just stuck in this water, and they are traveling this water for miles through this sewer system. And the idea was, does this water eventually spit them out where they're trying to get to? And of course, I rolled a yes. And of course, the water breaks them out. And actually, as they were spat out of this giant, let me see here. I'm trying to remember exactly how it says this. Yeah, they're expelled from a subterranean pipe and launched into a pool. And as that launches out, they hear us behind them an explosion as that entire way back in that they just came through collapses it on itself and shuts up all that water, preventing them from going back. And that's when they get up and look around, and they are in Zion Canyon. They have arrived. They made it. And then this version, now in Fallout Dust, Zion Canyon actually does get affected by the cloud. However, in this version, the cloud did not reach Zion Canyon because of its location. The air is clean, the water is pure. And so we just do a scene where the Brahim that they had to leave behind a free site somehow found its way here, and they just relax for probably the first time in ages. And you actually see, so the veteran ranger this time, he's worn this heavy armor that he has just never taken off. But in this moment, he finally sheds it when he's out here. And this is when also we, when they finally drop their military titles. The soldier introduces himself as David, which I thought when I was trying to come up with a name for the soldier, what his actual name would be, David was very fitting because immediately I was thinking about the story of David and Goliath. The Mojave was the soldier's Goliath, and he beat it. All right, Cyrus, glad you could stay here. And the veteran ranger introduced himself as Caleb, which that was one Gemini. And they're finally relaxing. They're in the Zion Canyon, but there was one final question that I had to ask. Now, in Fallout Dust, if you go to Zion Canyon, there is a monster that inhabits that land now called the Wendigo, which formerly once was Joshua Graham, the Burned Man. Joshua Graham, spoiler alert for those who haven't played Fallout Dust, in Fallout Dust, Joshua Graham died. But because of the cloud of radiation, he came back as something worse. This giant monster called the Wendigo. Now, Gemini did an interesting spin on this. It didn't quite. Well, you'll see here in a moment. And of course, when I rolled this final question was, is Joshua Graham as the Wendigo a threat now? And of course, I rolled doubles, which gave me the major twist. And I'm going to read this because I want you all to feel kind of what was going through my mind as I was thinking this scene. The handshake between David and Caleb lingers for just a moment. a fleeting, hard-earned second of absolute peace in a pristine world. Then the pack Brahmin stops drinking. The massive beast doesn't just raise its heads, it goes completely unnaturally rigid. A low, vibrating whine of pure terror escapes its throat. It doesn't stamp its hooves or try to run. It stands paralyzed, staring into the pitch black shadows of the dense, towering pine trees lining the riverbank. Caleb's hand instinctively drops to the grip of his Ranger Sequoia. The exhausted warmth in his eyes vanishes, instantly replaced by the cold, lethal focus of a veteran sniper. The Wendigo is real. The corruption of the Mojave may not have climbed the mountains, but starvation and isolation did. Caleb stares at the paralyzed Brahmin, his breath pluming in the cold air. The realization hits him first. It hits him with the force of a physical blow. It didn't wander here, Caleb whispers, his gravelly voice dropping to a dead, terrifying flatline. It didn't survive the tunnels of the passes on its own. It was herded. The Brahmin wasn't a miracle survival, it was bait, placed exactly at the mouth of the aquifer, waiting to see what the Mojave would spit out. The monster waiting in the dark is not a mindless feral beast driven only by hunger, like the tunnelers or the night stalkers. It remembers, it calculates. From the absolute darkness of the tree line, a voice speaks. It is a sound that defies nature, a wet, guttural rasp of torn vocal cords, layered over a terrifyingly calm, familiar cadence. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. The voice echoes off the canyon walls, the ancient scripture distorted by a jaw that no longer fits a human skull. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. The shadows part. He is towering, his limbs stretched and mutated into agonizing, emaciate proportions by the Wendigo psychosis. But unlike the feral abominations of the wastes, this creature is still wrapped in ancient, rotting white bandages. The bandages are stained pitch black with dried blood and filth, binding the stretched, pale flesh together. Joshua Graham steps into the moonlight. The burned man did not die in the collapse of the world. He simply adapted to the dark. His face is a nightmare of stretched, lipless teeth and sunken, glowing eyes. But the true terror isn't his mutation, it's his right hand. His grotesquely elongated fingers are wrapped perfectly, professionally, around the grip of a pristine, a light and shining darkness 45 auto pistol. He hasn't forgotten how the rage war. I have been baptized twice, once in fire, once in flame. The Wendigo rafts, raising his heavy pistol with terrifying mechanical precision, aiming it directly at the space between you, the soldier, and Caleb. And the fire that burns inside me is starving. The sanctuary of Zion is a trap. You have just walked directly into the hunting grounds of its apex predator. And I knew at this moment we made it here. This was how it was going to end. So this was the final thing that happened. David and Caleb stand frozen in place, looking up at the Wendigo. For a moment, panic is on their faces, but then, to Caleb's surprise, a smile spreads across David's face. The NCR lives on, he says to Caleb, as his hand lingers by his side where the 9mm still is. Caleb looks at the gun, then back up to David, a smile coming on his face as he nods understanding and says back, the NCR lives on. Joshua Graham, now the Wendigo, charges forward as David and Caleb swiftly draw their pistols. They aim and pull the trigger. Shots fire, and the screen fades to black. The echoing crack of the 9mm and the deafening thunderous roar of the Ranger Sequoia shatter the pristine silence of Zion Canyon. The muzzle flashes briefly illuminate the sheer red rock walls, capturing the lunging, monstrous silhouette of the burned man and the unbroken, defiant stances of the two men standing their ground against the dark. Then the canyon goes black. The rushing of the virgin water is the only sound that remains. It is the perfect it is a perfect apocalyptic western ending. They didn't die running, and they didn't die begging. They died exactly the way they lived, fighting back to back, holding onto the ghost of a better world until the very last round was spent. And that is where the game ends. Now I'll have to share this audio at some point because one thing that LM Notebook also does, you can choose, you can create different length podcast episodes based on the files you give it. So I took a eventually, yeah, no, that well, this one just did a whole entire uh lyric thing. But what I did was, hold on, I gotta scroll down here. That's not what I did either. Yeah, I had to create an entire detailed summary of every session that I did, and it split it up into like 7 or 8 parts, even though there was only like 5 or 6 sessions. But I copied all that and I posted it into LM Notebook, and I had to create a that's I had to create a final, basically audio, and I had to really focus on the narrative progression of this story because one of the things that I really loved how this came out was I loved how I chose to end this game. They reached the end goal. It should have ended there. But instead something else was still there waiting for them. And instead of just giving up, they smiled and drew their weapons. They chose it they chose they chose their way out. It was not by running, it was not begging. They died on their feet. I believe the saying goes, it is better to die on your feet than live on your knees. And there's just something, oh man, just how I ended that game, it still sticks with me. I think about it maybe a couple times a week because I mean, especially when you see like how it all started and how it ended. It started as a soldier thinking that all hope was lost and just trying to survive with each step he took, with eventually leading to literally an argument of ideals against the courier himself and arriving finally in Zion Canyon, only to go out literally with a bang. But it's not really a sad ending. It's a happy ending in its own way. And I will stop sharing now because that is all. Hold on, I'm waiting for it to fix on my computer end here. So then I think this also kind of ties back to men's mental health, men's mental health as well. Hold on, what just? Oh, that's weird. Just did a whole bunch of weird things. Okay, never mind. But this is a good kind of a parallel for I think why Men's Mental Health Month is so important. If you haven't been following my ex, I post I've been posting about men's mental health here and there, reposting stuff shared with friends and people I follow because I care a lot. I'm no stranger to the struggles that men deal with. I've been through depression. I've dealt with anxiety. I tried twice to take my own life. It's not something I'm afraid of saying or speaking out loud. It was something that happened during one of the darkest moments of my life, and I tried twice, and I couldn't do it. And eventually, though, I was able to get the help I needed to get my life back on track. And if I hadn't gotten the help, well, who knows where I'd be now. I wouldn't be here talking to all of you. I wouldn't be here with a great, amazing kiddo. I wouldn't be able to see my little sister get married again and be able to have fun and experience that joy. It's not about it's not always about the end results. Not every ending is going to be a happy ending. But which is better to do? To die on your feet or to live on your knees? I choose if I do have to go out, I'd rather go out standing. I am a person that does not back down easily from a lot of things. I am a very hard-headed, opinionated person, as most of you may know, but even I am not free from life struggles, and I just want everyone to know that, hey, I understand what some of y'all going through. I'm here for you, and I hope that if you are dealing with stuff like that, if you are going through depression, if you are feeling anxious, that you have those right people that you can reach out and talk to. Or if you are really good into something, just hold on. I'm sorry. Give me just a second. Sorry about that. The freaking neighbor girl that my son is friends with thought was trying to come over to see if Emmett would play with her, but I had a reminder that he wasn't here at the moment. But anyways, sorry about that. But yeah, it just when I was thinking about was how I was going to talk about this session, my experimentation with Gemini and this campaign that I did. I really got to feel it was almost perfect for this time of year, especially with us doing Men's Mental Health Month. So I hope so. Yeah, we saw as a man started at the bottom and got his way to where he was no longer afraid of what was going to be thrown at him anymore. He would rather, it's like, because I mean, we saw several times where it got to the point where it's like, hey, I'm not playing around anymore. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to see to the end. And he did. Even in his final stand, the soldier did not cower down. And I hope that if anyone faces a similar situation like that, heck, if I was ever to face a situation like that, I would hope that I as well could stand there and not back down from it, that I face it head on. So, but yeah, that was uh if you have questions right now, Shrapnel, you can go ahead and start asking them. That was basically it. Yeah, if you got a question you want to ask me, Shrapnel, in regards to my game with the Lone RPG and Gemini, go ahead. I'll answer them best if I can. I'm going to take another drink of water. I just had a bunch of. Mm, Sorry, I'm double checking my notifications really quick here. Well, okay. Well, the first thing I like, first off, to answer that question, Shrapnel, is I am. I was anti. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. I'm still using my phone for like my camera and microphone stuff, and I accidentally closed out. So I apologize. So to answer your question, Shrapnel again, uh, I was anti D&D and 5e for the longest time until I basically wanted to start playing again, and I had a buddy of mine. I'm currently running Curse of Strahd on the Rustic Roller channel on YouTube and Rumble, so you can go check those out as well if you want to. And this is my first time ever foraying into 5e, and 5e 2014 is okay, but you cannot use 5e for everything. There are so many better games out there. Like another game that I was thinking about using for this kind of game before I came across a Lone RPG was there's a Shadow Dark uh there's a third party Shadow Dark game called Atomic Shadows. And it's also that Gamma World slash Fallout type game as well. And I was gonna think about using that originally, but then I remembered that I had this Lone RPG, and I'm like, let me look at this and see how this does. Because the idea was I didn't really want to be mechanic heavy. I really want to see how good Gemini would be just telling a story in general. Because I wanted to focus this more on a narrative point of view than a mechanics point of view. So 5e can't do Fallout. 5e is only good for one thing, and that's fantasy. It's not really that good for anything else. Did you have any other questions you want to ask me besides that one, Shrapnel? Well, if you don't have anything else to ask me, Shrapnel. Oh, never mind. I just saw. Do you have a design doc with the perks and statue? uh, I didn't use a design document for the perks and stats that for my character sheet. By giving it the core rules, it also had access to that same stuff. So Gemini also helped me create if you go back to the beginning of this where I kind of went over the character creation, you'll see that Gemini went basically helped me to create the character and help him kind of basically figure out what all his stats, all his like traits and stuff would be. So one thing you really want to do is definitely LM Notebook, because if you try to do a PDF, just directly PDF added into Gemini, it won't take it depending on the file size. But if you just upload the PDF onto a LM Notebook, because file size doesn't matter in that regard, and then just connect that notebook to Gemini, it works a lot easier. Right. So if you have any more questions, Shrapnel, now is the time to get them out there now before I go ahead and call it good for the night. Where did you get that rule set PDF? Oh. Oh, like, are you asking where I got the Loner RPG? You can actually download it absolutely for free. Just the core rules. You can down it's Loner RPG 3rd edition on DriveThru RPG. And it's a pay what you want, so you can basically just download it for free. There are also some extra supplements that you can get for free by themselves. There is an omnibus edition that is only like I think it's $10 altogether for the omnibus edition alone. That has a lot of the stuff just combined. But you can also, if you do want a physical copy of the book, yeah, it is kind of doing a delay on my end. So if you want to get a physical copy of the book, Amazon has physical copies, basically POD. And yeah, it was just it using the I just used the base core Loner RPG rules. I didn't use any of there are some setting guides out there. I didn't use any of those. It was just the Loner rules alone. All right, was that all the questions you had for me, or did you have anything else? I'll look through that. It would be nice. I know there's I believe it's the guy who runs the XP level 3 channel. He created his own Fallout RPG. There is also the official Fallout RPG by Modifius Games. They actually released an official Fallout RPG system that uses their 2D20 system, and they just released not too long ago. It's a Solo Wanderer's Handbook, which teaches you how to do solo play on that. Now, I'm not a big fan of the 2D20 system. I would never play it, but heck, if that's right for you, then you just go ahead and get it. I've heard a lot of people do talk good things about that Fallout system. So Grim of 4, the original Dust author. Are you talking about like the guy who made the Dust mod? Well, I'm trying to look this up really quick on my computer. I'm just trying to see, my computer's being a little slow right now. This is why I do the my voice through the phone now, and then I just if I have to control anything on Restream, I just have it open on my computer now as well. It works a lot easier that way. Okay, that's kind of cool. Huh. That would be actually really interesting to do. Maybe I will have to go back to do the Atomic Shadows and maybe get like a small group together to see about a group of survivors trying to see how far they can make it through the Mojave in the dust setting. But I think with that, I'm going to call it a night. So thank you to all those that decided to stop by and listen. Thank you, Shrapnel, for staying and asking me some questions. Thank you, Cyrus, even though you already left. Thank you for staying and watching as well. Make sure you all go follow Cyrus Wright on X and on Rumble, and go follow his itch.io page. He's a game creator. and he does some great stuff. He does a lot of different types of games. So check one out and see which is your fancy. You can follow me on X, YouTube, Rumble, and Substack under the Ultra American TTRPGer at Ultra TTRPGER. It's the same all across the board for any social media platform I'm on. So you can't miss me. Again, I usually try to stream again on Fridays like I am right now, and but tomorrow will be the next bi-weekly session of the UltraCast Flushed Out campaign, where we are going through our sci-fi comedy system using Out in the Black Hack RPG by our buddy Roger. So, everyone, I'm just glad it's Friday. Make sure you also, because I keep forgetting to shout these guys at out now. Oh, Dust Discord. Shrapnel, I don't know if you have any other socials. So if you if do you have an X or anything by chance? Oh no, my computer's being slow again. Stupid thing. I didn't even know there was a Fallout Dust Discord. Well, Shrapnel, if you can find a way to either shoot me an invite link to that Discord or just like leave a comment on it, just leave the comment under it, and I will make sure to join it as soon as I can because I'm usually very active on Discord as well, and I would actually like to be a part of that Discord because I've actually been playing New Vegas recently, just the base version of it because I got it for my computer, and I've been having a lot of fun with it alone. So, well, hold on, maybe it's got it. My computer will work with me. I could try to find it on here really quick because of course, it wants to be slow. But oh yeah, I remember who I was going to date. Yeah, at 9:30, was it 9:30? Yes, 9:30 tonight. Gary and Laura Mattias, some buddies of mine, they will be doing their weekly. Oh no, no, it's not happening tonight. I forgot because they're at CNYCon right now, so there is no second watch tonight. Where is there? I don't remember now. All right, well, I'm gonna have to figure that out. So I don't know if it's gonna be happening tonight or not. So if it does happen, so if it's happening tonight, if so, I'm going to say yes, go watch it tonight. But if it doesn't happen tonight, then you all can kick me in the face for it later on. So, all right. But I think with that, I am going to wrap this up. Everyone, I hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe, roll some dice, and have fun. All right. Yep. I do see the Nexus page for those because I was trying to look at the guy earlier. So I will make sure to check those out. So thank you everyone for listening to me rant about my experiment with Gemini and Loner RPG to run a Fallout Dust game. Everyone, have a good night.